Can I tell you, I am absolutely terrified right now. I am about to talk about a lot of things that I rarely, if ever, have talked about on the internet. The reason that I haven't talked about these things much online is because I'm ultimately trying to create a cozy little corner of the internet that feels empowering when it comes to movement and exercise. The goal is to help people feel better in their bodies and really develop a deep love for movement in the process. So I've intentionally not given voice to a lot of these things because I just don't want to even invite them into the space. I want to be authentic to me. I want to speak with intention and provide evidence-based information and ultimately not tear anybody down. But there is a trend going around right now that is advice I would give you if I wasn't afraid of hurting your feelings. I've given it a lot of thought and I've decided that I'm going to jump on the bandwagon when it comes to fitness, movement, and exercise. Primarily because there is just so much misinformation out there from the fitness industry at large, just doing anything that it can in order to make money and profit off of us and our insecurities. And also we're living in a time where anybody can say anything they want on the internet, and there are a lot of fitness influencers that are really making some big, bold claims and growing these huge followings when they have no education or experience or certifications. And if they do have certifications, they're super simple certifications. And ultimately, if people like me who do have a ton of education and experience don't speak up about some of these things, then a lot of us are just misguided. So that's the ultimate goal here. I may potentially bristle some feathers, I'm not quite sure, but I hope that ultimately you do feel like you leave this video with a lot of information that is ultimately empowering. Okay, I might be totally naive and just living in my own bubble, but it does seem from my perspective like the narrative has really started to take a substantial shift for women when it comes to strength training. For decades, women were just told that they needed to use exercise to shrink themselves, but I hope we're starting to really understand that muscle is so important for our health and longevity. So the intention is hopefully there for a lot of women. That said, there are a lot of things out there that look like strength training and are marketed as strength training, but aren't actually helping you gain strength. The first most obvious one to me are the group fitness classes, the boot camp classes specifically. I'm not gonna call out any specific studios, but I think that you probably know what I'm talking about. These big group fitness classes with fun music and lights and heavy weights, and it seems like you're really doing something, right? The problem with these classes is that they are ultimately a cardio workout. Just because you're holding weights doesn't mean that you're building strength. So let me just really quickly break down how it is that we build muscle in our bodies. The number one metric for helping you build muscle is taking your muscle close to muscular failure. Muscular failure means your muscle physically could not perform another rep. It doesn't mean that you're out of breath. It doesn't mean that you're burning. It means that no matter how hard you try, your muscle's gonna give out. It can't do another rep. The other most important metric when it comes to building muscle is progressive overload. This means that you are gradually increasing the demands that you are placing on your muscles because you get stronger. If you are starting out by bicep curling with 5 pounds, you might do that for 2 weeks and then your muscle gets stronger and more efficient with that exercise. And so you need to pick up a heavier dumbbell in order to continue to challenge your muscle. Otherwise, you're just gonna stall out. That's a very basic example, but hopefully you understand the point. You can't just do this same workout with the same weights for the rest of your life. So there are many reasons why it's ultimately a challenge to continually build muscle over time in these group fitness classes. First of all, there's no consistency class to class, instructor to instructor. So you're always kind of doing random workouts. And this randomness makes it really hard to specifically challenge different muscle groups over the course of the week and progressively overload those muscle groups over the course of weeks and months and years. Additionally, most of these classes are really fast paced, and they usually have instructors that are just yelling at you to go faster. Not only is this quick pace going to make your form suffer and therefore potentially lead to pain, down the line, it also makes it much more of a cardio workout. It's really hard to get to muscular failure when you're cardiovascularly exhausted. A true strength training workout should have substantial rest incorporated throughout the session. If you are having to stop an exercise because you are too out of breath to handle it, you are not strength training. You are cardio training. And just another side note with these group fitness classes, I do think that they can lead to overtraining for a lot of people. A lot of these studios host challenges where they're trying to get people to come every single day. And again, it's very cardiovascularly demanding. You just don't need to be moving that hard, that long every single day. But if you are going to these classes because you really, really love them and get a lot of joy from them, please do not let me rain on your parade. They can be really, really fun. They can be great for community building. And as I said, they're a great cardio workout. Just try not to overdo it with the boot camp style. And then a couple other things that look like strength training but really aren't. Any of these classes that have the tiny little dumbbells. Like I know in a lot of cycling classes, they'll have 3 to 5 pound weights on the back of the cycle and then you're doing a little arm circuit, pressing the weights overhead. Ultimately, that is just not enough weight. It might be if you're a true beginner, 5 pounds might be a lot of load to your biceps. But as I said, you're gonna get stronger and then you need to progress that. There really aren't many exercises that you can take your muscles to muscular failure with a 3 pound dumbbell, which I'm realizing I need even further clarification. You need to get to muscular failure in under 30 reps. If it's over 30 reps, you are out of the muscle building zone. All of the workouts where you're doing this, and we're doing this, and the girls have their wrist weights on and you're moving your arms in all sorts of different ways, causing your shoulders to burn. Yes, those things burn, but that's not muscular failure. Again, muscular failure is where your muscle physically could not do another. And once you're getting past that 30 rep mark, you're just burning. And that's a very different thing than mechanical failure. Let me tell you one example where wrist weights really make a lot of sense. If you have been doing bicep curls with 10 pound weights consistently and you're feeling really, really strong with them, and you can confidently do 15 reps, it's time to go up in weight. But oftentimes in a lot of gyms, the next weight up is 15 pounds. And going from 10 pounds to 15 pounds is a really big jump for the biceps. So you might pick up those 15 pound weights and feel like, oh, I can only do like 2 or 3 reps. Wrist weights can be a great way to bridge that gap between 10 and 15 pounds. So you could continue to do your bicep curls with the 10 pound weights, but then have 2 to 3 pound wrist weights on, and that is progressively overloading your biceps. And then eventually you'll feel really strong and confident with that setup, and then you'll be ready to move up to the 15 pound weights. Another thing that looks like muscle building and is constantly marketed as muscle building or toning or firming are booty bands. Please, with the booty bands, listen, the glutes are the strongest muscle in the body. They need so much more stimulus than a little booty band. These bands, they have their place, don't get me wrong, but the average person wanting to build muscle in their glutes is gonna need to pick up some heavy weights, not just work with a band. Let me tell you some good use cases for the bands in a rehab setting. If you have been injured, if you are early postpartum, the bands can be really, really helpful. The reason that they're so helpful is because they help build mind-muscle connection. They help strengthen the neural pathways from your brain to your glute muscles so that you can get as many fibers within your glute muscles firing as possible. So really great for rehab for that reason. Also really great to use in a warm-up to help you activate your glutes before you challenge them in a strength training workout. All right, last thing I'm gonna say on strength training, and it may seem just so obvious, but people misconstrue this online all of the time. Cardio is not strength training. Cardio is very important, don't get me wrong, we need cardio for our cardiovascular health, but the amount of times I have seen a fitness influencer put up a video with the title saying, amazing cardio workout, and they're holding up their bicep muscle or they're flexing their abs to attract people to start that workout. It's really confusing. It's like, okay, you're doing jumping jacks, that's not gonna build muscle in your bicep. You know what's gonna build muscle in your bicep? Picking up heavy dumbbells and progressively overloading them over time. Obvious, but hopefully a helpful reminder. Strength training, cardio, they're 2 different things. In my opinion, we should keep them as 2 different things. Don't get yourself all worn out in your strength training session. It should be slow, take your rest so that you can focus on muscle building and getting to muscular failure, and then let your cardio be something fun and totally different. Next thing I would say if I wasn't afraid to hurt your feelings, this one's pretty basic. I'm not worried about saying it. I say it all of the time. You should be warming up and you should be cooling down, and most of you are not. It is so important to do a specific and intentional warm up before you get into your workout, regardless of the style of workout, because we want to make sure that our mobile joints are nice and mobile so that we can use them through their full range of motion throughout the workout and not build up compensation patterns that are going to lead to achiness over time. A basic example is your hip mobility. If you have been sitting all day and then just dive right into doing squats with heavy weights in your hands, your hips might not be prepared for that. And then if you're not getting into your full deep range of motion with your hips, your back might start to compensate, and then your back is going to hurt, and no one wants that. And then when it comes to cooling down, our workouts put us into a sympathetic state. This is our fight or flight state. Everything is very elevated, and it needs to be for our workout specifically. But then we don't want to linger in that state. We want to bring our bodies back into a parasympathetic state, or a rest and digest state of being, as it's known. So it's so important to take a couple of minutes at the end of your workout to calm your nervous system back down. I always like a little bit of stretching, a little bit of breath work, and like 90 seconds in Shavasana. But you can do whatever you want. If you want to do some self-massage, if you want to lay in your bed, lay on the couch, like it doesn't have to look a specific way. You don't have to stretch. Just do something that you know is a nice pathway to relaxation. All right, here we go. I'm nervous about this one. Most people shouldn't be running. Okay. Here's the thing. We as humans have evolved to run. We have run across all of humanity, but we as modern humans living in 2025, not so much. We're doing a lot of sitting. We have a lot of mobility restrictions. Our feet are super messed up because they've been squeezed into shoes for our entire lives. And a lot of adults are trying to get back into running, thinking that it's like riding a bike. It is not like riding a bike. The impact with every step we take when we're running is so great. It's not just your body weight. You are jumping, so it's so much more than just your body weight. And that is reverberating up your feet, your ankles, your knees, your hips, your back. And so many adults are getting injured running. And it's because their body is just not physically prepped for it. They have terrible form, and so it hurts. If you have been running consistently since childhood, your body is probably very well adapted to it, but most people haven't. Yeah, there are just so many people who are like, I need running for the mental benefit, and they're beating up their bodies in the process. And again, I feel so bad because I know a lot of people really, really love running, but if you're running all of the time and your body hurts, is it worth it? There's so many other ways that you can be getting your cardio in. Even just walking is so much better because it just doesn't have nearly as much impact on your joints. And dare I say, there are so many other ways that you can be getting the mental health benefits as well, like just little dance parties in your house, or even better, therapy. Next up, most people are working out way too hard and way too much and moving way too little. I sort of already spoke to the overtraining, but overtraining can be really detrimental. If you are doing 5 or more high intensity hour-long sessions every single week, or lifting more than 3 to 4 times every week, you're probably doing too much. And your body is going to pay the consequences for that. Overtraining affects everything. It affects our sleep, it affects our energy, it affects our hormones, it affects our mood, it affects our mental health. Your exercise routine should ultimately feel energizing, not depleting. Then when it comes to movement, as in the other 23 hours of the day, your body is craving more. And that doesn't mean more exercise. It just means more freedom of movement throughout the day. We have evolved to be squatting and picking up heavy things and holding things on our head and bending over all of the time throughout the day. And we're just not doing that. We're sitting at our computers all day, then we're sitting in our cars, then we're sitting down to the dinner table, and then we're sitting on the couch to watch TV, and then we're lying down in bed. Repeat, repeat, repeat. I made a whole video about how you can fit more movement more regularly into your day, so definitely check that out. But just know the other 23 hours of the day are super, super important to the way that we feel in our bodies, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Okay, last piece of advice that I would give you if I wasn't afraid to hurt your feelings is that you shouldn't be using exercise as a tool for weight loss. There is nothing wrong with body recomposition goals, but let me give you a pitch as to why I don't think that you should turn to your exercise routine for this. First of all, just to clarify, you cannot spot reduce fat. Any workout that's claiming that it's gonna shrink your waist or get rid of this part of your arm or this part or whatever, it's bullshit. You can build muscle in those areas. Doing tricep extensions is potentially gonna make your triceps stronger and bigger, but it's working the muscle. It's not gonna do anything to the fat there. Building muscle and losing fat are two different things. Secondly, the majority of fat loss happens as a result of your nutrition. Yes, of course, movement requires calories and muscle is metabolically dense tissue, so building muscle is naturally going to improve your metabolic health, but still, the majority of fat loss happens as a result of your nutrition and being in a caloric deficit. And when we embrace that fact, it allows us to move because it feels good, because movement and exercise can help us feel more energized and can help us function better and can make us stronger and more flexible and more mobile and more grounded and energetic in our bodies. If we can let go of this literal marketing scam that we need to use exercise as a tool to shrink ourselves, it gives us the freedom to fall in love with moving our bodies. And that is ultimately what my fitness studio, The Playground, is all about. So if you want to move with intention and in a way that feels energizing and nourishing and is helpful for your health and longevity, come check us out. I have listed a free strength class down in the description below. You can see how we really intentionally warm up, how we build muscle and are very specific with the way in which we're building muscle, and then how we lovingly wind the body back down in our cool down at the end of class. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.